previous session, we have implemented Config Server and we have also created our GitHub repository for the properties. In this session, we shall enhance the Retail Bank Manager service so that it can access the message property from the GitHub using the Config Server. For that, we need to add few dependencies in our retail bank application. So let's quickly enhance this. So these are Spring Boot Starter Config, Spring Boot Starter Actuator, and obviously the Bootstrap, because we are going to use Bootstrap. And in this client application which is accessing the config server, bootstrap.yml is mandatory because config server related properties we need to give it bootstrap. So let's quickly go and create a new file, bootstrap.yml, and here we add few properties, Spring Cloud Config. Then we give discovery enabled true. That means config server details should be picked up from service registry, and here we give a service ID which is nothing but the name of the config server application. That is the same name which is registered in the service registry. So we pick it up from our config server application name is Retail Bank Config Server. Let's just pick it and paste it here. And yes, it is the same name, Retail Bank Config Server. Now we provide some configurations to enable certain endpoints of Spring Boot Actuator, and we are expressing health, info, and refresh. Refresh endpoint will be useful when we would like to refresh some properties. Say if we change some properties value in the GitHub, then using the refresh endpoint, we can easily refresh this property and it will be reflected in our application without restarting the server for retail banking. And we shall demonstrate this one. And here in the endpoint, please note here endpoint no s is singular and above one is with s that is plural. And here we are telling endpoint post enabled, that is post method should be enabled. So that's the configuration. Now, since we have not implemented our API endpoint yet, so to demonstrate the config server, I am quickly creating a new endpoint, which is just say an welcome, and this will display the message which we will retrieve from the GitHub using the config server. So let's quickly implement this one. Give a get mapping called welcome, and we declare the method here. So it should be public string, and I give welcome. I'm not using any response entity or anything, it's just for demo purpose, but yes, in real application you can use response entity and all. So anyway, we shall remove this one at later stage when we implement our other API. This is just to demonstrate the config server. So here we are giving retail bank properties.get message, and we quickly create this class. So here we give few things. One, all argument constructor, which will directly come from Lombok, and we give this private retail bank properties, make R is capital. Now quickly create this file. So for that, I create one package, and within this package I should create this class. Class is created. I give few annotations, @getter, setter, and I give builder, and below I define the property. So it should be string public string message. So it should be public string message, and top of that, since this value of the message should come from the property file, so I need to give @value annotations, and then here I need to give message, and a default value. Default value is not mandatory, but without default value, if application is unable to find this property in any of our properties file, in our case in GitHub, it will throw an exceptions and application will not start. So it is better always to give a default value. So application first look into its internal YML or properties file, whether this property is there or not. If it is not there, it will check the external one, and in our case, it will use the config server to get it from the GitHub. So here we have configured our retail bank applications, config server connectivity, and it will read these message properties. And this message property will come from our GitHub retail bank properties repository. So that's the implementation from the retail bank service side to connect with config server, and our error is gone now. So we can build our application. Okay, here I need to give one annotation, refresh scope. This will allow us to enable the message properties value if the value change it in the GitHub. So I shall demonstrate this one when we demo how we are able to access our properties. Completed. Let's build the application and run it. So here you can see it is fetching from config server, and here it is showing that which properties files also it is reading. So you can see this one, GitHub application.properties. So we are able to connect our retail bank application with the config server, and it is accessing the properties file. Let's close few tabs here. Okay, our application is failed. I know why it is. So can you tell me why it is failed? Okay, you just pause it and think why it is failed. Otherwise, I'm correcting it here. Because I have not given the @ configuration annotation, and because of that, Spring Boot is unable to load these retail bank properties. So let's see. So this error is gone, but we are facing another issue, and this is related to Spring Fox Swagger. If you remember, we made some changes to support Swagger Spring Fox in Spring Boot 2.6 version, but we are still facing these issues once we added the config server. So I need to make some changes for Swagger to make this application work. So this is the change, if you remember, we made, but after using config server it is not working. So we shall make the Swagger enhancement in our next session, and then we shall demo the config server. So till then, see you in the next sessions. Thanks for your time, and please like, share and subscribe if this video helps you. Thank you.